I stared at the elegant gold-embossed wedding invitation clenched between my trembling fingers. The name written in perfect calligraphy was mine, Serafina Ashford, and the groom, Alexander Greystone, the man who had once shattered every dream, every ounce of hope I ever had. In my past life, I'd been foolishly, naively in love. Alexander had appeared as the perfect gentleman, handsome, wealthy, charming. Everyone envied me. But beneath his mask of perfection hid betrayal and cruelty. I vividly remembered how, on the very night of our wedding anniversary, he announced that his heart had always belonged to another, leaving me publicly humiliated. The pain, the despair. It was the last thing I felt as my car plunged into the icy waters of the river. Yet, now I was back. The day I woke up again was exactly 1 month before our first engagement. Somehow, I had been reborn into my younger self, given a second chance to rewrite my destiny. This time, I would not become a pawn in Alexander Greystone's cruel game. This time, I would make him regret ever choosing to cross Serafina Ashford. The ornate doors swung open, and the crowded ballroom grew silent as I stepped inside, dressed not as the blushing bride-to-be, but as the fierce heiress determined to regain control of her life. Every step I took echoed determination, my presence commanding attention and respect. My eyes met Alexander's across the crowded room. His shocked expression told me everything. His lips parted, stunned disbelief written clearly on his handsome face as I walked directly past him, my head held high. "Serafina, wait." Alexander reached out to touch my arm, desperation evident in his eyes. I turned sharply, pulling my arm away. No. Whatever we had or might have had is over. I refused to repeat my mistakes. His face darkened with confusion and panic. "I don't understand." "We were destined." I laughed coldly, calmly cutting off his words. "Destined? Destiny does not involve humiliation and betrayal." "Not anymore, Alexander." His desperation intensified, but I saw a flicker of admiration and surprise behind his wounded pride. This wasn't the reaction he expected. This wasn't the weak, lovesick girl from before. In my previous life, he'd held the strings to my happiness. This time, I would sever those strings forever. But as I turned to walk away, a voice cut through the murmuring crowd, freezing my heart and stopping me in my tracks. "You've changed, Sierra," came the smooth voice, dripping with venom masked by charm. It wasn't Alexander's voice, but someone else, someone far more dangerous, a shadow from my past life that shouldn't be here yet, shouldn't know this much. Slowly, reluctantly, I turned around and my heart nearly stopped beating. It was him, the man who had ultimately driven me to my watery grave. Damien Lockhart, Alexander's trusted cousin and closest confidant, smiling like a predator locking eyes with its prey. A twist I had never expected. Damien shouldn't know anything yet. My rebirth had altered more than just my own destiny. My revenge had become far more complicated and infinitely more dangerous. My blood ran cold as Damien Lockhart approached, his smirk carrying hidden promises of destruction. His presence here, so early, was impossible. This wasn't how things unfolded before. My rebirth had sent ripples through time, awakening dangers that should have remained dormant. "Damien," I forced out, my voice steady despite my racing heart. What an unexpected surprise. He inclined his head slightly, never breaking eye contact, as though savoring my discomfort. "It's been too long, hasn't it, Sierra?" Alexander shifted beside me, his confusion growing into suspicion. "Damien, what's going on here?" Damien chuckled softly, eyes glittering with amusement. "Simply greeting an old friend, cousin. Though it seems Sierra doesn't share my enthusiasm." The tension crackled in the air between the three of us, capturing the attention of the guests who pretended not to listen. I had to defuse this quickly. "I see you've misunderstood," I replied smoothly, meeting Damien's challenge with unyielding determination. "We're hardly old friends." Damien's smile widened, eyes glinting dangerously. "Ah, you're right. Perhaps old acquaintances is more fitting. After all, friendships are built on trust. And we both know trust is fragile." A silent threat lurked behind his words. I knew instantly what he meant. Damien knew something. Something no one else could possibly know. My chest tightened with anxiety, but I refused to crumble before him. Alexander stepped protectively between us. "I don't know what's going on here, Damien, but leave her alone. Damien raised an eyebrow, clearly amused by Alexander's protective stance. Oh, since when did you become the gallant hero, cousin? You never minded breaking hearts before. Alexander's jaw clenched tightly, anger flashing in his eyes. The room fell into silence, every eye watching this deadly exchange. I touched Alexander's arm, surprising myself as much as him, and forced calm into my voice. It's fine. Damien is just leaving. Damien regarded me for a moment, then chuckled again softly, conceding. Very well, Syrah. But remember, changing fate comes at a cost. With that cryptic remark, he turned and disappeared into the crowd, leaving Alexander and me in tense silence. My heart was pounding, but I concealed my trembling hands beneath the folds of my gown. Syrah, Alexander started softly, confusion and concern evident in his voice. What was he talking about? Do you know something? I met his gaze, searching for any hint of deception. But this Alexander seemed genuine, troubled, lost, nothing like the ruthless man who had broken me before. No, I lied carefully. He was just trying to provoke you. Ignore him. Alexander shook his head slowly. I've known Damien all my life. He never does anything without purpose. I withdrew my hand, stepping back from him, reinforcing my resolve. Perhaps. But that purpose is no longer my concern. As I turned away, Alexander's voice softened, carrying an edge of desperation. Syrah, please. Give me a chance to understand you. I paused briefly, an ironic smile tugging at my lips as memories of past betrayals clouded my heart. You lost that chance a lifetime ago. Walking away, I felt Alexander's intense gaze following my every step. Yet my thoughts weren't focused solely on him now. Damien had changed everything. He was aware of my rebirth, or at least sensed something deeply wrong. I had returned to rewrite my story, but it seemed fate had other plans, weaving a web more intricate and dangerous than before. Now, survival meant outsmarting not only Alexander but also the man whose betrayal had cost me everything. Damien Lockhart was back, and his sudden appearance hinted at deeper secrets from my past life that even I didn't fully understand. To protect my future, I had to confront the shadows of my past and risk everything once again. The grand chandelier overhead sparkled brilliantly, oblivious to the turmoil simmering beneath its glow. My confrontation with Damien replayed over and over, each word slicing deeper, reviving painful memories I thought I'd buried with my death. I moved swiftly through the crowded ballroom, desperate for solitude. Finding the glass doors leading to the veranda, I slipped outside, inhaling deeply as the cool night air embraced me. It offered little comfort. A soft shuffle behind me made me stiffen instinctively. Serafina. The voice wasn't Alexander's, nor Damien's, but gentle and hesitant. Turning slowly, I recognized Lady Evelyn, Alexander's younger sister, her eyes wide with concern. Evelyn, I greeted carefully. It's good to see you. She stepped forward cautiously, casting nervous glances toward the ballroom. I overheard your conversation with Damien. You need to be careful. He's dangerous. My heart quickened. In my previous life, Evelyn had always remained distant, indifferent to my presence. Her sudden warning was unexpected. Why are you telling me this? I asked softly, measuring her sincerity. She hesitated, biting her lip nervously. Because you're not the only one who's suffered because of him. Her words hit me sharply. In my past life, I'd overlooked Evelyn, assuming her life was simple and carefree. Clearly, there were darker currents beneath the Greystone family's polished facade than I'd realized. What do you mean? I urged gently, stepping closer. Evelyn glanced around nervously, her voice dropping to a whisper. Damien isn't just ambitious, he's ruthless. He manipulates, destroys anyone in his path. He's planning something, and I'm afraid Alexander will be his next victim. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. This wasn't just worry, it was fear. Genuine fear. Evelyn. I reached for her hand reassuringly. What exactly is Damien planning? Before she could answer, the veranda doors burst open. Alexander stood silhouetted against the ballroom's warm glow, his gaze quickly flickering between us. Evelyn, Syrah, he began, uncertainty shadowing his handsome features. What are you doing out here? Just catching up. Evelyn quickly responded, masking her anxiety with practiced ease. It's been so long. Alexander studied us closely, suspicion briefly clouding his gaze. "It's getting late, Evelyn. Mother is looking for you." Evelyn nodded obediently. Before leaving, she squeezed my hand discreetly, her expression pleading for secrecy and caution. "Good night, Serafina." Left alone with Alexander once more, the tension returned, stronger than ever. "What was that about?" he asked quietly, watching me closely. I saw Evelyn's face. She was frightened. "Maybe you should ask Damien," I shot back sharply, bitterness creeping into my voice. He flinched slightly, visibly wounded. "Sierra, please. I don't know what happened between you and Damien, but if he's hurting my sister—" "Alexander," I interrupted firmly, meeting his gaze directly, my heart hammering in my chest. "Damien is dangerous. If you truly care about Evelyn, you'll keep her away from him." His eyes widened, a flicker of realization dawning. "And you? Do you plan to stay away as well?" I smiled bitterly, the weight of past heartbreak pressing heavily on my soul. "I've learned my lesson. This time, my life is my own." He stepped closer, the desperation clear in his eyes. "Whatever Damien has done, whatever I've done, I swear, Sierra, let me fix it." The sincerity in his voice tore at me, igniting memories of betrayal I struggled to suppress. Yet, in this lifetime, Alexander seemed different, vulnerable even. Could he be sincere, or was this yet another manipulation? My thoughts were suddenly shattered by the loud crack of glass from inside the ballroom, followed by terrified screams. Alexander and I both turned sharply toward the commotion. From within, chaos erupted, and amidst the confusion, Damien Lockhart's cold gaze met mine through the shattered glass doors, a chilling smile spreading across his lips. My heart froze as understanding dawned. Damien had already begun his game, and now the stakes were higher than ever. Chaos reigned in the ballroom, panicked guests scrambling for the exits, shards of broken glass glittering ominously on the polished floor. Alexander instinctively shielded me as we rushed inside, his body tense with urgency. Amidst the hysteria stood Damien, utterly composed, calmly adjusting the cuffs of his immaculate suit. His gaze remained locked onto mine, the dangerous promise of something darker swirling within his eyes. "What have you done, Damien?" Alexander's voice thundered, raw with fury. Damien tilted his head, feigning innocent confusion. "Me? I'm simply enjoying the show, cousin." Alexander moved closer, his fists clenched tightly at his sides. "This isn't a game. People could have been hurt." Damien's lips curled into a chilling smile. "Collateral damage, I'm afraid." "It's merely the beginning." My heart pounded violently. Damien wasn't bluffing. This was only a taste of his ruthlessness. Evelyn's warning echoed in my mind, and I scanned the room anxiously for her. Relief washed over me briefly when I saw her safely near the exit, her eyes wide with horror. Turning back, Damien had already vanished into the crowd. Frustration welled within me. His escape was calculated, every move precisely planned. Alexander turned abruptly, gripping my arms gently but firmly, searching my face desperately. "Sierra, please tell me what's going on." "You know something, please trust me." Trust. The word burned bitterly, resurfacing memories of betrayal. Yet Alexander's desperation felt disturbingly genuine. Had my rebirth truly altered him, or was I merely falling into another carefully laid trap? "I can't," I replied, barely audible over the panicked whispers still filling the room. "Not yet." He exhaled sharply, frustration and pain flickering across his face. "Then when? What will it take?" I hesitated, staring into his eyes, glimpsing vulnerability I'd never seen in my previous life. "Prove you're worthy of trust, Alexander. Until then, I'm on my own." Before he could respond, I broke away, determined to find Damien. Whatever his next move was, it would be devastating. I pushed through the chaotic crowd, heart racing as I glimpsed Damien slipping out into the dimly lit gardens. I followed carefully, darkness enveloping me as I stepped outside. The music and panic faded behind me, replaced by eerie silence. Brave or foolish? Damien's smooth voice sliced through the silence, emerging from the shadows. "Perhaps you're both." I steadied my breathing, refusing to let him intimidate me. "What are you planning, Damien? Why are you doing this?" He stepped closer, moonlight illuminating his dangerously handsome features. "Because you changed the rules, Sierra." Your rebirth disrupted everything. And now, you have my full attention. Shock surged through me. He knew. Somehow, impossibly, Damien was aware of my secret. How do you know? I whispered, fear coiling tightly around my heart. He smirked darkly, stepping closer still. You're not the only one who's been reborn. The revelation struck me like lightning. Damien Lockhart, the architect of my destruction, had also returned from the grave. That's impossible, I stammered, my voice betraying me with a tremor. You died. I saw it. Death wasn't the end, Sierra, Damien said softly, his tone dripping with venomous amusement. It was merely the beginning. Now, shall we rewrite our ending together? He reached out, fingers brushing my cheek gently, dangerously. A chill ran through me, both fear and anger intertwined. Before I could react, footsteps approached, cutting through the darkness. Sierra? Alexander's voice echoed, concerned and tense. Damien withdrew swiftly, his eyes gleaming with dark anticipation. Until next time, Sierra. Remember, our fate is forever bound. As Damien melted away into shadows, Alexander appeared, confusion etched deeply into his face. Are you all right? He demanded anxiously, searching my expression for answers I could not provide. My heart was heavy, mind reeling. I had believed revenge was mine alone. But now, with Damien's revelation, every step had become infinitely more perilous. And worse, far worse, I couldn't shake the haunting suspicion that the real enemy might still be hidden, someone I hadn't even suspected yet. My rebirth had unraveled more than my own destiny. It had awakened a darkness capable of consuming us all. I stared into Alexander's anxious eyes, words frozen on my tongue. Damien's revelation had shaken me to the core, unraveling everything I believed about my rebirth. Trusting Alexander was dangerous, but facing Damien alone felt equally perilous. I'm fine, I finally managed, drawing back to compose myself. Just startled. Damien was. Was what? Alexander demanded, tension sharpening his voice. What did he say to you? I hesitated, battling the urge to confess everything. But how could I explain rebirth, betrayal, and revenge without sounding insane? Damien is playing a game, I said cautiously, weighing each word. A game neither of us fully understands. Alexander's eyes darkened, a shadow passing over his face. Whatever Damien is planning, I promise I won't let him hurt you. Not this time. The sincerity of his words tugged painfully at my heart. Could Alexander truly be different in this lifetime? Before I could respond, Evelyn appeared, breathless and pale. Alexander. Serafina. Mother fainted. I don't know what's happening. Evelyn's voice trembled, fear radiating from her. We hurried back into the ballroom, now subdued but still tense. Lady Greystone lay unconscious, surrounded by worried guests and staff. A doctor knelt beside her, his expression grave. What happened? Alexander asked sharply, moving quickly to his mother's side. The doctor shook his head solemnly. We must move her immediately. It's poison. A collective gasp echoed through the ballroom. My blood turned icy, eyes scanning the room instinctively. Damien was nowhere to be seen, but his presence lingered like a shadow. Poison. It was Damien's signature move, subtle, ruthless, terrifyingly effective. Yet, Lady Greystone had never been targeted in my previous life. My interference had clearly changed the playing field. Alexander's hands trembled, anger and fear battling across his features. His eyes found mine again, begging silently for clarity. I realized then, despite everything, that he was genuinely lost, caught in Damien's web just as much as I was. We quickly arranged Lady Greystone's transfer to a hospital. The once celebratory evening had transformed into a nightmarish ordeal. As Alexander left with his mother, Evelyn remained behind, gripping my hand tightly. Damien did this, she whispered urgently, fear etched deep in her features. He's sending a message. What message? I asked, dread pooling in my stomach. She leaned closer, her voice barely audible. No one defies Damien Lockhart and walks away unscathed. The threat chilled me to the bone. Evelyn knew far more than I'd ever suspected. Evelyn, I pressed urgently, you must tell me everything you know. Damien is more dangerous than you realize. Her eyes filled with fresh tears. It's not just Damien, Sarah. Someone else is involved. Someone who pulls the strings from behind the curtain. My heart lurched painfully. Who? Evelyn hesitated, glancing nervously around the now near-empty ballroom. Her voice trembled as she whispered, Your father. Shock slammed into me, nearly knocking the breath from my lungs. Impossible. My father would never. But Evelyn's gaze never wavered, her fear and sorrow painfully genuine. Damien and your father have secrets, Sarah. Secrets that could destroy both our families. My knees weakened, my entire world spinning. My rebirth had revealed far more than betrayal by Alexander. It had exposed dark truths buried within my own family. Truths that threatened to drown me again, this time forever. Suddenly, the ballroom doors slammed shut, locking us inside. Evelyn's terrified eyes met mine as we heard footsteps echoing slowly across the polished floor. I warned you, Sarah. Damien's voice resonated coldly, emerging from the shadows. Changing destiny always demands a sacrifice. As the lights flickered and died, plunging us into darkness, I knew with absolute certainty that Damien intended to collect that sacrifice tonight. Darkness enveloped the ballroom, suffocating, absolute. Evelyn's frightened breathing echoed softly beside me. My pulse thundered in my ears, adrenaline surging with fear and anger. Damien had trapped us, and this time he intended to leave no room for escape. Stay close, I whispered urgently to Evelyn, gripping her shaking hand tightly. Don't let go. Damien's footsteps circled us, slow and deliberate, amplifying the tension that coiled around my heart. His voice emerged, silkily smooth, threaded with dark amusement. You're braver than last time, Sarah. Or perhaps more foolish. His tone hardened sharply. Did you really think you could rewrite fate without consequence? You've already hurt enough people. I hissed into the shadows, my voice trembling with barely restrained rage. Leave Evelyn out of this. Damien laughed bitterly, mockery heavy in his tone. Evelyn chose sides when she decided to speak with you. Choices have consequences. Evelyn shuddered beside me, clutching my arm tightly. Serafina, I'm sorry. I should never have. No, I interrupted firmly, voice steady despite my fear. You did the right thing. He won't control us again. Damien chuckled coldly, a cruel edge sharpening his words. Control? Oh, Sarah, you misunderstand. This isn't about control, it's about balance. You broke the balance, and now the price must be paid. A sudden, violent crash shattered the silence as a chair hurtled past us, barely missing Evelyn. Her scream pierced through the darkness, panicked and raw. Damien was toying with us, enjoying every second of our terror. Stop this! I shouted, fury overcoming fear. Face me, Damien. It's me you want. He appeared suddenly, materializing from shadows, standing mere inches from my face. I felt his breath, icy, controlled, brush against my cheek as he spoke softly, dangerously. You're right, Sarah. It was always you I wanted. But you chose Alexander again and again, even after his betrayal. You never once saw what was right in front of you. His words confused me, twisting painfully within my heart. Damien's obsession ran deeper than I'd imagined, twisted by bitterness and jealousy I had never seen. I never chose him, I whispered harshly. He betrayed me just like you did. Damien leaned closer, voice lowering to a chilling whisper. Oh, Sarah. Alexander's betrayal was merely the surface. Your father planned your downfall from the start. Alexander was simply the weapon. My heart froze at the accusation, each word echoing cruelly in my mind. Damien's revelation was almost too painful to consider, but deep down, something told me he wasn't lying. I don't believe you, I said defiantly, voice trembling slightly despite my attempt at bravery. You will, Damien replied coolly, stepping back into shadows once more. Soon enough, you'll realize Alexander was just another puppet, just like you. Evelyn squeezed my hand tightly, her voice trembling. Sarah, I think he's telling the truth. Before I could respond, the ballroom doors splintered open violently, flooding the darkness with blinding light. Alexander stood there, eyes blazing with rage and fear, his breath ragged. Damien! Alexander roared, fury raw in his voice. Enough! Damien chuckled softly, retreating further into the shadows, but his voice lingered dangerously. Too late, cousin. The truth cannot be undone. Alexander rushed toward me, his protective instinct overpowering caution as he took in our pale faces. Are you both all right? I hesitated, torn by conflicting emotions. Damien's revelations haunted me, casting doubt over Alexander's every word and action. Yet, looking into Alexander's desperate eyes, it was hard to see deception. But Damien had revealed a sinister truth I couldn't ignore: my father's involvement. If Damien was right, my entire life had been a lie. Alexander, I said softly, voice thick with unease. Tell me the truth. Were you part of my father's plans? His face paled, guilt flickering briefly before vanishing behind a mask of confusion. Your father? Sira, I swear, I never. The sincerity in his voice only deepened my dread. Someone was lying. Someone was playing an intricate game, and I was trapped in the center, unable to distinguish friend from enemy. Suddenly, Damien's sinister voice echoed once more through the darkness, delivering a chilling promise. The games have just begun, Sira. Choose wisely, because your next move might be your last. My heart clenched painfully as the weight of Damien's threat sank deeply into my soul. I had been reborn seeking revenge, determined to rewrite my destiny. Now I faced truths darker than betrayal, truths that threatened to consume everyone around me. This battle had just become personal, and survival was far from guaranteed. Damien's haunting threat lingered long after he'd melted back into the shadows. The ballroom was empty now, a hollow shell echoing our labored breaths and the fractured silence left behind. Alexander reached for my hand, but I instinctively drew away, uncertainty hardening my heart. Sira, he began, desperation etched clearly in his voice. I promise you, whatever Damien said. Enough, I interrupted sharply, struggling to maintain my composure. I need answers, Alexander. Real answers. His eyes widened slightly, hurt flashing briefly before determination replaced it. Then let's find them together. Evelyn shifted uneasily beside us, her eyes darting anxiously between Alexander and me. I think I might know where we can start. We both turned to her immediately. Evelyn took a shaky breath before continuing. Father's private study. Damien has visited it frequently in secret. Whatever they're planning, there must be evidence there. My pulse quickened as realization set in. Lord Greystone's study had always been strictly off-limits, even in my previous life. If there were answers to uncover, it was our best chance. Let's go, I said firmly, exchanging a determined look with Evelyn. Alexander hesitated only briefly before nodding in agreement, clearly wrestling with his own doubts. The mansion corridors felt colder, heavier with each step toward the forbidden chamber. Alexander's hand rested cautiously against the polished oak door, hesitation written in every tense muscle. Are we sure we want to do this? He murmured softly, though his resolve was evident. We don't have a choice, I replied, my voice steady despite my racing heart. The truth is in there. He pushed open the heavy door. The room was cloaked in darkness, filled with an oppressive silence. I moved swiftly to the desk, searching through papers, documents, anything that could confirm Damien's words. Alexander and Evelyn searched anxiously alongside me, tension mounting with each empty drawer. Suddenly, Evelyn gasped softly, pulling a small leather-bound journal from beneath a hidden compartment within the bookshelf. This was hidden deliberately, she said, trembling slightly as she handed it to me. My fingers shook as I opened it, my eyes quickly scanning pages filled with handwriting I instantly recognized. It's my father's, I whispered numbly, heart clenching painfully as I began to read. Each word sliced deeper, uncovering horrifying truths. Plans for an arranged marriage, details of business dealings, transactions where I was merely a pawn. And worse, a contract signed by both my father and Lord Greystone, sealing my fate as a sacrifice to their mutual ambitions. Alexander paled, reading the pages over my shoulder. Sira, I never knew. You never knew or you never cared? I snapped, betrayal surging like a relentless wave. I was always just collateral, wasn't I? No, Alexander protested fiercely, anguish written deeply in his eyes. I swear, I didn't know the extent. A slow, sardonic clap echoed through the study, freezing us all in place. Damien stepped from the shadows, his smirk razor sharp and merciless. Bravo, Sira, he mocked softly, eyes glittering with dark satisfaction. You finally see the truth. How long have you known? I demanded, voice trembling with fury and pain. Damien's gaze flickered briefly with an emotion that looked dangerously like regret before his expression hardened again. Long enough to know that your rebirth changed the game, but not the players. Alexander stepped protectively in front of me, tension radiating from every inch of him. Enough of your lies, Damien. Damien chuckled softly, dark amusement playing on his features. Lies? Perhaps you should ask Evelyn what she's hiding before accusing me. Evelyn stiffened visibly, panic flashing across her face. I don't know what you mean. Damien tilted his head mockingly, eyes narrowing. Really? Because your fingerprints are all over this. Or perhaps your brother isn't the only Greystone skilled in deception. Alexander turned sharply toward his sister, confusion battling disbelief. Evelyn? Tears welled in Evelyn's eyes, her voice cracking as she whispered desperately. Please believe me, I was forced to keep quiet. Damien threatened. You chose to help me willingly. Damien interrupted coldly, eyes glittering cruelly. Let's not rewrite history. Evelyn's face crumpled as guilt and fear overwhelmed her. Alexander, please. I didn't mean for this. Alexander staggered backwards slightly, betrayal etched deeply into his features. My own sister. The room grew thick with suspicion, secrets unraveling at our feet, shattering alliances once thought unbreakable. Damien's laughter sliced through the tension, cold and victorious. Now you understand. Damien whispered softly, eyes locked fiercely on mine. You can't trust anyone, not even yourself. As our fragile unity fractured, one chilling truth became undeniable. The real enemy had yet to reveal their true face. And now, no one was safe. The silence that followed Damien's cruel laughter felt suffocating. Trust shattered like fragile glass, scattering pieces of suspicion and betrayal between us all. Alexander stood frozen, anguish etched deeply across his features. Evelyn was openly sobbing now, the truth of her complicity tearing her apart. Evelyn, Alexander finally spoke, his voice barely a whisper, raw with disbelief. How could you? She reached desperately for him, her tears relentless. I was trapped, Alexander. Damien made sure of it. He threatened to destroy you, Mother. Everyone. I had no choice. Damien's expression hardened, disdain replacing amusement. We always have choices, Evelyn. Yours just happened to align with mine until now. I stepped between Evelyn and Damien, refusing to let him break her further. Enough. You've caused enough pain. Damien studied me curiously, his voice dangerously soft. Always the protector, aren't you, Sarah? Even now, defending the Greystones, who willingly destroyed your past. I defend what's right, I replied, my voice firm despite the tremors racing through me. I won't become like you. He leaned closer, eyes blazing with intensity. You already have. Revenge brought you here, don't forget. Alexander, shaken yet determined, moved beside me. You've done enough, Damien. This ends now. Damien chuckled, stepping back toward the study's door, a malicious smile lingering on his lips. This was only the beginning. The worst is yet to come. Before any of us could react, Damien slipped away, vanishing into the corridor, leaving behind a chilling silence thick with unanswered questions. Alexander turned slowly toward Evelyn, his eyes a storm of anger and sorrow. Explain. Now. Evelyn steadied herself, wiping tears from her face, trembling slightly as she spoke. Damien found out about Father's secret alliance with Serafina's father. He used that information to blackmail me, to spy on you and Sarah. But I never wanted any harm to come to either of you. You have to believe me. Alexander's jaw clenched tightly, struggling visibly with conflicting emotions. You should have trusted me, Evelyn. Her voice broke, desperate and pleading. I'm so sorry. I was afraid, and I made the wrong choice. My heart ached, watching their family torn apart by betrayal, yet Damien's words haunted me most. Trust no one, not even yourself. It was a chilling warning, one I couldn't dismiss. Suddenly, hurried footsteps echoed down the hallway. Moments later, a servant burst into the study, breathless, eyes wide with panic. Lord Alexander, Lady Greystone has vanished from the hospital. Alexander's face drained of color, dread seizing us all. What? He choked out. How? The servant shook his head helplessly. The nurses saw nothing. Only a single note was left behind. He handed Alexander a crumpled piece of paper. Alexander's hands trembled as he unfolded it. I stepped closer, reading Damien's unmistakable handwriting aloud. You took something from me. Now I'll take something precious from you. My breath caught sharply. Damien had declared open war. Alexander crumpled the note furiously, anger and desperation radiating from him. We need to find him now. But my mind raced ahead, suspicion clawing at my heart. Damien wasn't impulsive. He meticulously planned every move. What had Alexander supposedly taken from him? Then a realization struck me like lightning. Damien's obsession wasn't about revenge against Alexander. It was deeper, more personal. Damien had always claimed to care for me before my first death. Was this all twisted jealousy? Alexander, I whispered urgently, dread filling my voice. Damien isn't targeting your mother to hurt you. He wants me. Alexander's expression shifted instantly from anger to fierce protectiveness. I won't let him take you, Syrah. Never again. But doubt gnawed relentlessly at my mind. How much more was Alexander hiding? Damien's words lingered bitterly. I couldn't trust anyone. Was I truly safe with Alexander, or was I merely repeating my past mistakes? My thoughts were shattered by Evelyn's sudden gasp. Look! A hidden panel in the study wall had swung open slightly, revealing a dimly lit passageway beyond. Cold dread gripped my heart as the chilling reality dawned. Someone had been watching us, listening to every word. Before we could investigate, footsteps echoed again, heavy and deliberate, emerging slowly from the darkness. My breath froze painfully in my chest as a figure stepped into view, their identity shattering my world completely. Father? My voice trembled with disbelief, my entire body shaking as I stared into his cold, unyielding gaze. He smiled grimly, voice cold as steel. Hello, Seraphina. It's time we had a talk. Damien's twisted game had finally revealed its most dangerous player. And the truth threatened not only my heart but my very existence. The man standing before me wasn't the father I'd once adored. Instead, he was a stranger whose eyes carried a chilling emptiness I'd never noticed before. My heart felt crushed beneath the weight of betrayal, every fragment of trust splintering further. Father, I repeated, voice shaking despite my efforts to remain calm. How could you do this? He regarded me coolly, hands clasped behind his back. It was necessary, Seraphina. You always had a purpose to fulfill, nothing more. Alexander stepped protectively beside me, anger blazing in his voice. She's your daughter, not a pawn in your twisted schemes. My father merely raised an eyebrow, unimpressed by Alexander's outburst. You're hardly innocent yourself, Alexander. You played your part perfectly. A little too well, perhaps. Alexander visibly recoiled, pain evident in his expression. I never agreed to this. You manipulated us all. Evelyn trembled silently behind us, guilt and horror frozen on her face. My father glanced briefly toward her, expression softening slightly with mock sympathy. Evelyn, your loyalty is commendable, but misplaced. What exactly do you want from me? I demanded, voice sharp with anger and grief. You've already destroyed my life once. Isn't that enough? My father's eyes hardened, and he stepped closer, the air around him growing oppressive. You misunderstand, Syrah. Your death was never the intended outcome. Damien was the wild card, his obsession complicated things. Your marriage to Alexander was meant to consolidate power, not end in tragedy. Shock pierced through me. Damien's obsession. My father knew, and he'd allowed it to spiral dangerously out of control. Damien warned me you couldn't be trusted, I whispered bitterly. For once, he spoke the truth. My father's lips twisted into a cruel smile. Damien has always been useful, though unpredictable. But now he's served his purpose. Unfortunately, you've made yourself expendable as well. A chill surged through my body, realizing the depth of my father's betrayal. I had always been nothing more than a pawn in his twisted power game. Alexander lunged forward, furious. You'll never lay a hand on her again. But before Alexander could close the distance, two imposing figures stepped from the shadows, blocking his path. My father's private guards, loyal only to him. He turned toward me again, his voice dripping with menace. Come quietly, Serafina. Don't force me to hurt anyone else. I hesitated, trapped between impossible choices. Evelyn sobbed quietly, helplessly. Alexander stood rigid, barely restraining his rage. If I resisted, they would pay the price. I'll go with you, I said finally, my voice hollow. Alexander's eyes widened in protest, but I shook my head slightly. I have to do this. My father smiled grimly, triumphant yet unsurprised by my surrender. Wise decision. He motioned, and the guards moved closer, surrounding me. Alexander's desperate voice echoed as they began to lead me away. I won't let him win, Sira, I promise. I met Alexander's anguished gaze one last time, heart-wrenching painfully as his image faded behind me. Every step felt heavier, colder, as if my father was dragging me deeper into an abyss from which there was no return. As we entered the dimly lit corridor behind the hidden panel, I sensed another presence. Damien stood quietly waiting, arms folded, eyes unreadable. Enjoying the reunion? I spat bitterly, betrayal fresh again at the sight of him. Damien studied me carefully, stepping close enough to whisper softly into my ear, voice tinged strangely with sincerity. Trust no one, Sira, not even me. But remember this. Your father's plans run deeper than you know. Survival means playing along. For now. His warning confused me, but before I could respond, he stepped back, expression returning to its familiar mask of cold amusement. My father regarded Damien calmly, addressing him dismissively. Ensure there are no interruptions. Damien nodded briefly, turning to leave without another glance, yet his words lingered hauntingly within me. Could Damien truly be an unexpected ally, or was this another layer of manipulation? I was alone now, trapped between two monsters, my father, who'd betrayed me without remorse, and Damien, whose twisted motives I still couldn't fully grasp. The corridor ended abruptly at a heavy steel door. My father unlocked it, revealing a stark, windowless room, a cell. You'll remain here until you're useful again, he stated coldly, pushing me inside. As the door slammed shut behind me, sealing me into darkness, my father's voice carried one final, chilling promise. Soon, Serafina, you'll understand the necessity of sacrifice. Locked in the darkness, my resolve hardened into fierce determination. I had been reborn once. I would not let history repeat itself. And next time, it would be my father who faced the consequences. The darkness around me felt suffocating, each second stretching painfully into eternity. Cold walls pressed in, echoing the betrayal that haunted my thoughts. My father's cruelty had stripped away every illusion I'd clung to, leaving me exposed and vulnerable, yet determined. Slowly, my eyes adjusted to the gloom, revealing only bleak emptiness. There was no escape, at least, none that I could see. Despair threatened to engulf me, but Damien's unexpected warning echoed in my mind. Trust no one, Sira, not even me. Why had Damien warned me? Could he truly be an ally beneath the mask of villainy, or was it another manipulation designed to further break me? My thoughts shattered suddenly as the faint sound of footsteps approached from outside the heavy door. Tension coiled tightly within me as the lock clicked sharply, and the door creaked open just enough to reveal a dim figure slipping silently inside. Who's there? I demanded, voice steady despite my racing heart. Sira, it's me. Evelyn's voice whispered urgently, shaking with anxiety and regret. Please, forgive me, I had no idea it would come to this. Evelyn? I breathed, relief mingling with suspicion. How did you get in here? She moved closer, her trembling fingers gently grasping mine. I stole Father's keys. Damien distracted him long enough for me to come. Confusion spun through my mind. Damien again, his intentions grew ever more complicated. Why would Damien help you? I asked cautiously. Evelyn hesitated, eyes glistening with guilt and fear. He said you were the key to unraveling Father's plans. Damien's obsessed with bringing him down, but he needs you alive. I stepped back slightly, weighing her words carefully. Damien's obsession had always been dangerously unpredictable, but perhaps in this twisted scenario, his goal aligned temporarily with mine. Can you get me out? I whispered urgently. She nodded shakily. Alexander's waiting nearby. He has a plan, but we must hurry. The mention of Alexander sent conflicting emotions surging through me. Despite everything, I longed desperately to trust him. But trust had become a fragile, dangerous thing. Evelyn guided me quietly through the darkened corridor, our breaths shallow, each step cautious. The air thickened with dread as we reached an exit leading outside the mansion. Alexander waited anxiously in the shadows, his expression visibly easing at the sight of me. "Sira," he breathed, relief flooding his voice. "Thank God you're safe." I paused, torn by emotions, wanting to trust him yet haunted by the endless betrayals. "Alexander, if we do this," I said softly but firmly, meeting his gaze directly, "no more secrets. No more lies." His jaw tightened with determination, sincerity clear in his voice. "I swear to you, Sira. I'll prove myself worthy of your trust." Before I could respond, Evelyn's urgent whisper cut through. "We don't have much time." Damien said father already suspects. Suddenly, an alarm blared throughout the mansion grounds, harsh and jarring. Guards shouted, footsteps echoing rapidly toward us. "Run," Alexander urged, gripping my hand tightly as we raced toward the safety of darkness. Evelyn stumbled slightly but kept pace beside us, fear propelling her forward. A shot rang out behind us, narrowly missing its mark, shattering a nearby lantern and plunging us deeper into shadow. Ahead, Damien emerged abruptly from the darkness, eyes gleaming dangerously, blocking our path. Alexander halted instantly, tension radiating fiercely from him. Damien smiled coldly, gaze fixed sharply on me. "Going somewhere, Sira?" I stepped forward defiantly, heart racing fiercely. "Get out of our way, Damien." He chuckled softly, almost mockingly. "I warned you, trust no one. Not even your rescuers." Alexander bristled angrily, voice low with fury. "Don't listen to him, Sira. He wants to divide us." Damien's expression hardened sharply. "I already have. You're playing right into your father's hands by fleeing. If you run now, he'll destroy all evidence of his crimes." I hesitated, uncertainty clouding every instinct. Damien's twisted games blurred the lines between truth and manipulation, yet his warning was plausible, dangerously so. "He's lying," Alexander insisted desperately. "We have to leave now." Damien's eyes narrowed sharply, voice low and intense. "Sira, your next move decides everything. Choose carefully." Time slowed agonizingly, my decision balancing on a knife's edge between escape and confronting my father's dark secrets. One wrong choice could doom us all. Yet, deep within, something told me Damien spoke the truth. "No," I whispered finally, turning slowly back toward the mansion, my voice trembling but resolute. "I won't run. Not this time." Damien nodded slightly, his expression briefly softening with something dangerously close to admiration. Alexander stood rigidly, conflicted but ultimately supportive, gripping my hand tighter. "Then we'll face him together." Damien's lips twisted into a faint, ominous smile. "Then follow me, Sira. Let's end this game." As we moved back toward the mansion, my heart filled with resolve yet haunted by doubt, I knew this confrontation would demand a sacrifice. But whose blood would ultimately stain my path to freedom, I couldn't yet foresee. One thing was certain. Tonight, destiny would finally show its hand. Every step toward the mansion felt like walking into the jaws of fate itself. Damien led, his presence radiating quiet menace yet oddly reassuring. Alexander's hand held mine tightly, unspoken promises of trust and loyalty flowing between us. Evelyn walked silently beside us, her face pale yet resolute. We entered through the servants' entrance, the mansion eerily silent aside from the distant, frantic shouts of guards searching the grounds. Damien guided us swiftly toward my father's study, a place that now felt like the heart of all darkness. Pushing open the heavy doors, we found my father calmly seated behind his desk, seemingly unsurprised at our return. He regarded me coldly, eyes filled with a quiet, menacing calculation. "I warned you about defiance, Serafina," he began evenly. "Yet here you are." I stepped forward, heart pounding fiercely, courage bolstered by Alexander's firm presence behind me. "It ends now, father. Your manipulation, your cruelty, I won't let you control me or anyone else ever again." His lips curved in a chilling smile. "Such defiance. But are you prepared for the consequences?" Damien spoke suddenly, voice clear and unwavering. "The real question is, are you prepared, Lord Ashford?" My father's eyes flickered with genuine surprise at Damien's direct challenge. "You dare betray me now, Damien?" Damien's expression darkened, voice filled with long-held bitterness. You betrayed yourself first, using your daughter as a pawn. It's time your secrets were revealed. Without another word, Damien handed me a stack of hidden documents, proof of corruption, deceit, and betrayal that implicated my father and Lord Greystone. Alexander's eyes darkened with anger and pain as he saw the damning evidence laid bare. You destroyed lives, Alexander growled fiercely, stepping beside me. You almost destroyed Serafina's and mine. My father's mask finally cracked, anger breaking through his carefully composed facade. Power requires sacrifice. Weakness is intolerable. No, I replied firmly, voice filled with hard-earned strength. True power comes from compassion, trust, and love, things you'll never understand. My father stood abruptly, desperation creeping into his voice. Serafina, you don't understand. But I cut him off, strength surging within me. No more lies. No more manipulation. Suddenly, guards burst into the room, weapons drawn, but Damien raised his hand calmly, signaling them to stand down. To my surprise, they obeyed instantly. My father's eyes widened in disbelief. Damien? You! Damien stepped forward calmly. They were never yours, they've been mine all along. Your reign ends tonight. Realization dawned clearly on my father's face. His power was slipping through his fingers. You'll regret this. No, Damien replied coldly, gaze unwavering. My only regret was trusting you in the first place. Guards moved swiftly, detaining my father without resistance. He cast one final, icy glance at me, devoid of remorse, yet shadowed by grudging respect. You're stronger than I thought, Serafina. Perhaps you truly were reborn to end this. He was led away, leaving us alone with the weight of victory tinged by sorrow. The silence felt heavy, yet freeing. Alexander gently pulled me close, sincerity radiating from his eyes. Forgive me, Sira. I promise you nothing but honesty from now on. I met his gaze, finally seeing clarity where once there was doubt. I trust you, Alexander. We'll rebuild our lives, together. Damien watched us silently, a complicated blend of satisfaction and longing shadowing his features. You've won, Sira. Be careful what you do with your freedom. He turned quietly, leaving us behind in the ruined study, his role complete, his fate uncertain. Evelyn stepped forward, tears shimmering in her eyes. What happens now? I took a deep breath, the weight lifting slowly from my heart. We begin again, stronger and wiser. We rebuild trust and learn from the past. As we walked out together, stepping from darkness toward a brighter future, I knew my rebirth had a greater purpose, not revenge, but redemption.